See, I'm Tony Christie, and I'm here to talk to you about the Labyrinth, and in particular the Labyrinth Wisdom Cards. And if there's one thing that I have taken or learned from working with the Labyrinth, is that there is a significance to every moment, to everything that happens. Nothing happens by accident. The Labyrinth is a symbol of oneness. It's the symbol of the interconnectedness of all of existence. So the fact of me here talking to you in Watkins Bookshop this evening, and the fact that you are here listening to me, has not, in my opinion, happened by accident. And every moment, the significance that it has is that there is a message there for us. There is an insight or a piece of wisdom that we can take from it. But we have to be open to that. We have to be aware of it. We have to have the heightened awareness and the quietness of the mind. And the quietness of the mind and the heightened awareness come to me through walking a labyrinth. The insights may be something I say. It may be something you hear from talking to somebody else. It may actually be a book you pick off from the shelf and read. I was here about a year ago listening to an author's talk, and I had an issue that I was trying to make a decision on, and I had more or less decided what I was going to do. That would take a bit of effort, and just as the talk finished, I was sitting down here. I turned to my left. There was a CD about 2 inches from my face saying, "Feel the fear and do it anyway." Of our journey in life. It's a symbol of many things. A symbol of our journey in life with a twisting path from the outside to the centre. Your life, you're walking, and the journey to the centre is an inward journey. It's probably the greatest journey that we can make. But it's a journey that has many twists and turns. Our life, we're looking to get to the centre, and we're looking to achieve whatever it is at our centre: peace, love, joy. And these qualities or characteristics that we're seeking to find in happiness, our path towards them has many twists and turns. Sometimes we feel we're almost there, and then our life takes a turn and we're further away than ever. But also at other times, our times are difficult, and yet something turns in our life and we come back more towards peace, and we're moving towards the centre. 1,000-year-old labyrinth, 10 foot wide, in Goa in India. Wide enough for people to walk. There is a similar pattern on Cretan coins from 400 BC. There's a similar pattern in the Hopi Indian Reservation in southern Arizona. There's a similar pattern in Petra in Jordan. There's a similar pattern on Muslim mosques in Pakistan. There's a similar pattern in many Christian churches. There's a rock in Ireland called the Hollywood Stone, 1,500 years old. It's got the same pattern. So there is a symbolism within the labyrinth that appeals to people, and the symbolism of getting to the centre and of going to find what is at your centre. The labyrinth, as I have found working with it, also represents a symbol of the interconnectedness of all of existence. I have found associations between the labyrinth and many other journeys. For example, the tarot journey, where the first card, where the fool is stepping off the cliff and taking the leap of faith. If you are consciously and intentionally stepping into a labyrinth, you're taking a leap of faith to explore what's ahead of you in your life's path without specifically knowing what's there. And just to familiarise people with the oldest labyrinth pattern, this is the 7-circuit classical labyrinth. It has 7 circuits. One of the interconnections, or one of the associations with the 7 circuits, are 7 chakras. So as you're walking through this particular labyrinth, you're passing through, consciously or subconsciously, your 7 chakras, bringing them into balance. You're becoming at one with yourself. The labyrinth is also a symbol of oneness. You become at one with yourself. When you're at one with yourself, you can extend that to become at one with others, to become at one with your environment, to become at one with the cosmos, and to become at one with divine energy or divine source. The ultimate journey is union with everybody and everything. So in the interconnections and in other interconnections I have seen, there's a cross or 4 quadrants in most labyrinths, certainly in the older ones, and even in the most well-known Christian one from Chartres Cathedral in France. There are 4 sections. These I see sometimes as representing the 4 elements: earth, air, fire and water, the alchemical connection. And by passing through these in different patterns in different ways, you're bringing yourself into contact with the fifth element, the quintessence, the interconnection in all of these, and something that's beyond the four of them. I have represented some of these interconnections in the Labyrinth cards. One of the reasons I started on the journey of creating the cards was because I was seeing interconnections and seeing insights in the cards that were significant to me and I wanted to share. I had written as I was writing, as I was getting these insights, and I was documenting and writing what the insights were in one word on the top of the card, in a little caption on the bottom with positive affirmations or words of wisdom, but also in a single page in the book. I felt that I needed to share this wisdom, as I call it, with you or with everybody who was drawn to the Labyrinth and to the Labyrinth Wisdom Cards. An interesting story I had back in 2005, I had started this journey, Labyrinth journey a bit earlier, but the journey of the cards back before 2005, and I had a very basic deck in 2005. I knew that they were, when I picked a card, that I was receiving insights. And I was in Chartres on a pilgrimage for up to 10 days and training and facilitating a labyrinth. And I was feeling quite connected. The cathedral there is designed, in my view, to raise your consciousness, so I was feeling quite in a heightened state of awareness. And I was on the bus to the airport back, and I said I'd pick a card, just to see where I was at, see if it would give me a message. And I picked a card called The Long Road. And it's a card which shows a 15-circuit labyrinth. So the labyrinth, it takes quite a long time to walk it. There are many, many twists and turns. You certainly need perseverance. I've only ever walked one in my life, and it took me a bit of an effort even to walk it. But the caption at the bottom at the time when I read it was, "You have to take a longer route to reach your goal. Persevere, you will get there." And I couldn't. My first reaction was, what the heck is this about? Because I was feeling I was quite connected and quite close, and I couldn't understand what the card was saying to me. I nearly threw the deck out the window and said, "No, there's nothing. These aren't working." I got to the airport to check into the flight to Cork, and the check-in desk had closed. I was stuck. Thought I was stuck in Paris for the night. I rushed off. Managed to get a flight back into Ireland, into Dublin. Late at night, managed again just to get the last flight from Dublin back to Cork, and I was sitting on the flight back to Cork, and I thought of the Long Road card, and I said, that's what that card was. I was associating the card with a spiritual or a personal journey, and for me at that time it was giving me a physical message to say, you're going to miss your flight. The second thing in that card was, it was 2005, and I had felt that the cards were almost a finished product, and within a year they would be ready and out in the market and published. I didn't anticipate, I needed to get some images done, but I was asking artist friends of mine to draw the images. I believed that I couldn't paint. I hadn't painted since I was 10 years old in primary school. And so, there are things that we can do that we don't know we can do them until we try. I think it's a matter of having belief and faith in yourself, and I could say that I probably didn't have it at the start, but at least I was prepared to start to try to take the first step to lift that paintbrush. Some of the subsequent images, I still look at them and I'm not sure where they came from. I know they came from my hand, but apart from that, I'm not really sure. I've never had training in any kind of art, and yet these images all came through me. So, I suppose, talking about the Labyrinth cards, there are a number of different sets within the cards. There is a 7-circuit classical labyrinth. The 7 circuits are associated with the 7 chakras. There is a card for each chakra because each chakra represents a particular aspect of us and our lives. There are 9 turning points in that labyrinth, and I have represented each of those 9 turning points in the card deck. Here to do is to do what makes us feel alive. I know that I feel alive when I'm working with the labyrinth, when I'm talking about the labyrinth, when I'm painting the labyrinth, and it makes my heart sing. And there is something that each one of us has that makes us feel alive. And it's up to you to find it, it's up to you to choose it, and it's up to you to do it. What that is unique to you. If you don't know, I would say start walking labyrinths and you'll get a better chance of finding it. This labyrinth shows a number of images. It shows one of the Hopi Indian carvings. They call it Sun Father, the giver of life. It is the 7-circuit classical labyrinth that we showed earlier. There are a number of other life images, DNA spiral, Fibonacci spirals and so on. But the significance, I suppose, of that card for us here tonight, I think, in my view, is that this is your life, you have been given it, you're here for a reason, I have no doubt. So choose how you're going to live your life, do it with joy, and do it so that your heart sings. Yeah. Thank you. How do I interpret the chakra cards, or how does one interpret the chakra cards? The 7 chakras, starting from the bottom up or the top down, and I'd nearly have to look at the deck for some of them. Certainly the crown chakra, which is our connection to divine, I've interpreted as awareness. So that it's an awareness is a total awareness of everything, of all of existence, and that comes from tapping into the divine.
I mean, when you do the cards.
Yes. Sometimes it depends on the context, or if you have asked what the question is asked. But there is a message in the cards. I mean, we all have seven main chakras, and if you draw the third eye card, it is giving you a message about that, either to start working on developing that or to start using your intuition. So some of it is in the context of what the question was asked, or if you're drawing it, that there is a message in the intuition card, which is the third eye one, that there's just read what's on the card, or if you're looking for more insight, read the page in the book. There's one page in the book for each of the cards. So does that answer your question? Yeah. There are a number of different ways of using the cards, and they're designed so that there's at least 3 ways of using them, but there are many others. You can use it just for a thought for the day. Just pick a card and see what it's saying to you. I think anything done with an intention has a lot more power, so that if you have an intention, or if you have a question in your mind, hold the question in your mind, consciously choose a card, and that card, on the basis that nothing happens by accident and that everything is interconnected, the card will have a message for you. There are ways of spreading out the cards. In any card decks, you can do a past, present and future. If it's an issue that you're looking for more insights into, you can look at a card for the past, for the present and for the future. But I also have 1 or 2 spreads in the book. There's a handbook going with the cards, so I have 1 or 2 spreads in that where you can do what I call the body spread, where there's 3 for the center of the body. Your left hand is what you need to consider receiving, your right hand what you need to consider giving. Your left leg is what has been predominant in the past, and your right leg is about stepping into the future. So that if you want to pick 7 cards and lay them out in that order, you can get more insights into any one particular issue, or just into where you are at this stage in your life. Certainly if you have a labyrinth that you're working with, oftentimes people will have them at the start of the labyrinth if you want to pick one before you walk, or you can have them in the centre of the labyrinth, so that when people receive when they reach the centre, it's often seen as the centre of receiving, that they can pick a card and where their mind may be quieter and they'll be more open to seeing insights and messages in that card. That the brain looks like a labyrinth, I don't think it is. I think certainly the practice of walking the labyrinth, in my view, it's a focused meditation, and so the left side of the brain, which is the masculine, logical, rational side, is quite active and sometimes even overactive in today's world as we're trying to figure out many things. That quietens down because it doesn't have to think it just focuses on the one path. And as that side of the brain quietens down, our feminine, receptive, intuitive right side comes more into balance. And then the practice of taking 180-degree turns again helps integrate the right and left hemisphere, so that we become more whole-brained. And in that more whole brain state, we're much more open to solving issues, to finding answers. I would think of, not necessarily people who walk labyrinths, but people who were in that relaxed state. Newton was sitting under an apple tree when the apple fell on his head. Archimedes was in the bath, so it's not like they were at their desk working when they had these amazing insights. They were in a quietened, where the mind was with the cards. I would like to say every day, but I carry a deck with me all the time. So in the bag, I have one in the bag with me, and that's not just because I'm here tonight. I will pick a card almost every day, sometimes every morning, if not sometimes in the evening. Oftentimes I just pick one card because I know what the card says and much of what's in the book. I just will pick the card and it gives me, I get an instant insight. Although sometimes I pick a card and I see something new in it. I see something new in the image that I haven't seen before, even though the images, I painted the image. So it's like there is layers or depths or dimensions to the labyrinth and to the labyrinth cards that I haven't experienced yet. But I would say every day, I always like to start the day with some thought for the day or some insight. So, thank you. What you also have here, the practice of walking the labyrinth quietens the mind, but also the practice of tracing it with your finger. Tracing a finger labyrinth, it quietens the mind. When you have your deck or when you get your first deck, I certainly suggest to people that they trace it. I do it this way because it is recommended that you would trace it with your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, use your left hand because it switches sides of the brain. So you trace the pattern, and in the practice of tracing the pattern, you're actually quietening your own mind, but you're also connecting with the cards as a whole, as a deck for you yourself to use. So you always have, once you have the deck of cards which you have a labyrinth handy. The labyrinth is a tool. It's a tool for quietening the mind. It has been called a tool for the transformation of consciousness. And I think in many ways this is what we're dealing with. More and more people are connecting with the labyrinth in today's society. Not only has it been around for 4,000 years, but there are, in the last 20 or 30 years, there's been more than 5,000 labyrinths built all over the world. Tens and hundreds of thousands of people have walked labyrinths and are walking labyrinths. They're not doing it just for the fun of it, they're doing it because they're finding a benefit in doing it. So the labyrinths are a tool, I think, in today's society. Interestingly, the labyrinths emerge every 100 to 150 years when traditional structures in society are breaking down. And certainly in today's world, where people are losing faith in the institutions, whether it is banks or whether it is governments or whatever, people are now turning to the labyrinth, which is a tool for turning to yourself, because it's a symbol of you, it's a symbol of oneness, it's a symbol of your inward journey to finding the safety and security within yourself.